Hello and welcome to day 2 of the unofficial practice games review. It's George from Fantasy Take TV, and man, we have a lot to get through today. So we have the North versus the Tigers, Collingwood versus Carlton, Melbourne versus St Kilda, Sydney versus Brisbane, Adelaide versus Fremantle, and we are going to talk Sam Berry, don't worry about that, and Port versus West Coast. So a lot to get through. I didn't see every bit of every game. I had to record a few games and watched at least the first quarter of some. So I also read other match sim notes as well. So I'm not just going off my own stuff, but I'm going off what I saw and what others have said and what I've read on Big Footy and whatnot. Most reliable source ever. So I think we'll get straight into it because there's so many names to discuss, and I'll be a bit briefer than the last video because there's so many names. But we'll start off with the Tigers versus North. So I thought this was actually a good game, and North was probably the best they looked. They were moving the ball well in a long time. So positive signs there. But we'll start off with Richmond. So Taranto, Hopper and Shaw. Tick for Taranto, looked good. Hopper, tick for Hopper, he looked good. I think they both started slow and worked their way into the game. Taranto was tackling a lot. They're always around the ball, so big tick for them. And then Shaw, no halfback role that we thought might happen. Or I thought might happen, but yeah. Big cross for that, and that's all I have written there. I don't know if I'm forgetting a rookie, but that's all. And then North versus the Tigers. So LDU was really, really good. Lots of clearances. Probably roughly best on ground. But the only problem was Simpkin and Cunnington were out. So given I think they want to use Zohar in there a bit. You got TP and Phillips in there as well, and then Greenwood, I don't know if he's the future or they want him in the team anymore, and then Sheasel might attend a few CBAs as well, so there's a lot of names in there. So does that hurt LDU, or does just everyone around him and they just leave LDU in there? We'll watch that for next in the next game, the CBAs, but yeah, tick for LDU. It wasn't as good in the intra-club, but today was very, very good, so very encouraging. Z-Ball, every time the ball hits the deck or he tries to kick to get out of trouble, it's a turnover. He's a leader back there, so I think he'll stay back there. He can take intercepts, and he's tough. He goes back with the flight every time and takes big pack marks, but I'm not sure you want the ball in his hands a whole lot. He can nail the simple kicks, but anything remotely hard, it feels like he stuffs up. So he's a no for me, but I think the role was good and the kick-ins were there. So it's an interesting one, but yeah, it's just I'm going to pass. Power and Phillips were both good. I think Phillips did enough, but Power probably not. I'm just not sure because given the other players, given Simpkin and Cunnington, it's hard to tell how much mid-time he actually gets, but I think he'll outdo his price, but at 300k, maybe not enough. And then 3 rookies I have here, Gota, Combin, and Sheasel. Gota was good when he got the ball. Every time he got it, mostly halfback wing, he'd be really, he'd make something happen. So, I don't know, go for a run, hit a good kick, or hand pass to release someone. So he was good in that regard, but he didn't get a lot of ball. But he's one that you would think that he plays round 1 and you give him another go in the next game. I'm not sure if he'll make my final team, but we'll get another week to look at that. Combin and Sheasel. So Combin F8 only, dead roll, full forward. I don't know if he got any ruck time, but he did in the intra club. So I think he'll play for sure, and he might kick a few snags here and there, but yeah, would not want him anywhere near your field. And if there's a better forward rookie that pops up, I would go that route. But he seemed like he'll play. And then Sheasel's very good. I watched the first quarter and he was good, but apparently in the second quarter he didn't do a whole lot. So such is the nature of a rookie. But yeah, he seems to get around the ball a fair bit and knows where the goals are, and he tackles as well. His pressure's good. Do I want to pay 200k for him? Not really. He's a pass for me, but he's interesting because he could have a really good year because he looks really good, and I think he had a few big games in juniors. So that's my assessment on North versus the Tigers. We'll move on to Carlton versus the Pies. And I think we'll knock Carlton out first because I think they're less relevant this year. Last year they were massively relevant. So Cripps was really good. Hewitt was really good. I think we forget how good he was. Just he had back issues last year. Doherty wasn't as prolific today, and probably more did get a bit of mid time and a bit of half back. I watched the last 5 minutes of this game. I don't know why I skipped to that part, and I saw Doherty take a mark forward, which was odd. So I don't know if he's half forward or he just drifted down there. I don't know what happened there, but maybe something to keep an eye on. Adam Sard, I don't really have much to say on Sard. He just doesn't accumulate enough. I don't really trust him over others, so he's a no for me, but he could go well. And the rookie, Cowan, did a few nice things. Had a really good play in the middle. They showed it on Twitter. Did like a spin move out of trouble and kicked it long out the stoppage. I don't know if he plays round one because they've got a whole bunch of young guys that can sort of play that 7th defender. If he's named round one, I think I'll chuck him on the bench at D8. But we'll see what else we get just because his junior numbers were so good. But again, with these rookies, I think like the second game is where we really need to hone in on the rookies. So I think it's I want to say tick, but I'm not too sure if that's something to worry about next game. So the Pies are a big one. So Titch, Dacos, and Darcy Cameron. Darcy Cameron is a clear no. I think, splitting the ruck a fair bit forward, coming off the hammy. It's a no from me. Dacos and Titch. Where do we start? I think we'll start with Tom Mitchell. If you were watching this game and you had the Supercoach app open and you had Tom Mitchell in your team, I think within 10 minutes you would have clicked X on Tom Mitchell and just swapped him out for literally anyone else. He was very poor, and you do wonder, is he just declined as a mid because he's at that age 29 going on 30? That's when mids are basically past their prime. So he'll be 30 in March, May, something like that. And you wonder, does he need to adapt to the Pies system? Because he looks pretty slow, to be honest. His outside game wasn't great. His inside game wasn't great either. I mean, he got a few times in and under, but just didn't look great, to be honest. Did not pass the eye test, and he failed the eye test last year as well. So I'm not going there. I guess you got to give him another go if you're really still interested in him, but just a few question marks, and I think a bit of time at half forward as well. I think the whole lot of them, every Collingwood mid basically needs to rotate somewhere else, it seems. So he's a no. That was really poor. I'm not going there. Nick Dacos. Dacos is an interesting one. I want to give him a tick here because his work rate, his midfield craft, I think defensively he's got a bit to work on in the midfield. But I thought he got burnt a few times in the first quarter just because he'd run into open space and they wouldn't pass to him, but he'd continue to work to try and find space and try and get the ball. So basically the whole game, he was around the ball. The whole time I saw him, he was basically on the screen, trying to find space, trying to get the ball, demanding the ball, and that's what we want to see. So I think he's a tick for me, and ownership is pretty high. Carlton are a hard midfield matchup. So I think, I probably saw more of him in the midfield than halfback. So I don't know how well he went at halfback, but from what I read on Big Footy, he did better at halfback. So regardless where he plays, excuse me. So I got something in my throat. Regardless where he plays, I think he will just demand the football non-stop. So for me, I think he can do 95 to 100. And just see what his potential is in the midfield. But he's one that I would like to see again. So there's a few plays that, I've seen enough, like Toronto Hopper, I've seen enough. For his Dacos, I want to see one more time. Yeah, so an interesting one. So I think Dacos remains in my team. And I think Titch was in my team in January. He's never coming in again. So the next game we have is Melbourne versus St Kilda. So Melbourne were really good here. Start off with Oliver, fantastic. Just same old Clayton Oliver, just makes it look easy. Tick for Clayton Oliver. Petrarca, solid, so tick for him. Gawn and Grundy. Gorn started in the ruck and then Grundy came in, so I'm not quite sure what the split is. I think there's some Twitter clip saying that Grundy's going to do 70% or something like that. I haven't watched it, but someone said that. Just, yeah, too busy watching footy today. You can't go Gorn just because you're not sure if he's going to get enough ruck time, but he looked alright. And then Grundy, I thought he was okay. Just don't know what the role is going to be week to week, every single week. Because there might be some times where they just need to put, even if they say, oh, Grundy will ruck more, well, it might not always be the case. Because if they're trying to win the game, and they see Gorn as a better matchup, which he is, because he's better ruck, and they need help in CBAs, they got to put Gorn in. So for me, I'll pass on that. But if you're confident in Grundy, I guess that's fine, but I wouldn't go there. Kyle Chandler was very good up forward, so he's had a big preseason. I read bloody Demonland forums just for extra research. The Melbourne people go on there, and yeah, he's had a big preseason, and he looked really good. He was pretty lively, set up a few goals, kicked a few, had a few chances. Again, like, I think he's medium to small forward, something like that. So tick for him, and I think he's the leading candidate for F8 for me at the moment. Not a whole lot of options, but I liked his game. I think he'll play round 1. Should be a spot for him, I think. I'm not sure. We'll see. So tick for him. And is it Jed McPhee or something? Honestly, I didn't notice him too much, but apparently people are saying he's good. It's sort of one where I just tuned out. So that's one I'll watch for next week and read the reports on. Salem, we don't know the timeline on Salem. So if we can get a timeline on Salem, because it seems like he has Salem's spot, then we will know if we have a green light or not. So something to keep an eye on. We'll move on to the Saints. So this is a player that's made his way into my team from the Saints, and that is Jack Steele. So Jack Steele probably started a bit slow, but worked his way into the game. Didn't get his hands a lot on it in the first quarter, but from what I was watching, he looked really fit. He looked trimmed down as well, but he was covering the ground well. He wanted the football. Contested work wasn't the best, I thought, because usually he's a bit more prominent in the contest, but outside game was okay. Took a few marks and just looked fit and running really well. So he's one that it'll be him or Laird for mid spots. I've taken Laird out for him just to free up money to get Young up to Dawson. We'll speak about Young soon. But yeah, I think a big tick for Steele. For 600k, surely he's top 8 or thereabouts. So just looks good. And it was a bit sketchy. Something happened in the preseason with him, but seems fine. And yeah, tick for Jack Steele. That was a positive, I think. Sinclair was solid off halfback, but I think they might be moving the ball a bit quicker. So I don't know how that affects his output. So he's a no from me. I just realized I'm supposed to be putting player names in, but I'm not. I'm not even going to put players' names in anymore. Like I did with the last video. Who we got here? Rowan Marshall. I thought he lost taps in the ruck, but his around the groundwork was good, and that's what we want to see from him. Philippou, I thought, was basically playing as a key forward. And I joked on Twitter that he's the king replacement, but he took some really nice contested grabs. But the role was terrible. So he's probably a no for me. But yeah, if he was 123k, I'd lock him in on the bench. Caulfield did not play, but I think he played in the 2s. So that's something to monitor for next week. So that's a little bit annoying. Moving on to Sydney versus the Lions. Should probably put this in front of me. So Sydney, probably the two main ones here are Gordon and Mills. So it feels like Mills played Gordon's role and Gordon played Mills' role when he was getting midfield time. I saw very little of this game, to be honest, so I'm going off reports here, but apparently Gordon was one of the best on ground and he had a lot of CBAs and he was everywhere. The problem with this, though, is what does that role look like week to week? Is he going to get whatever many CBAs he got? I'm just going to guess 60. And then, like, what's Mills going to... Mills probably played mostly half forward. So what do the CBAs look like week to week? Because are they going to give Mills very low CBAs every week? You never know with Horse, but you would think not. So I think this game was probably about giving Gordon more mid-time. But if you think he can get 40% or more CBAs, I think you can tick that off, because with 10% CBAs last year, he did 85. So that is pretty good. And then Mills, yeah, you don't know what he's going to do, what Horse will do with this role, so he's a no. The Lions, Neil was good, but he hurt his ankle and I think he went off. So he's probably one to monitor, but he's not really one I considered for the starting team. I prefer Oliver and Laird over Neil. Dunkley was good, but looked to play a bit forward as a marking target. So similar role to the Dogs, but I think maybe the CBAs will be like 65 to 70% instead of in the 50s at the Dogs. And then Ashcroft was pretty good. Didn't do anything spectacular, but just is consistent and just gets it done. So that's a big tick for Ashcroft. And the other two rookies. So Wilmot played on a wing. I thought he was okay. Wasn't outstanding, but I guess when you're on a wing, it's always can be hard to get the ball sometimes. Connor McKenna looked horrific. So from what I saw of him, he turned it over twice. And one kick, he missed the target by about 20 meters, it was. So his offensive game was horrific. So I wonder if they bring him through to the VFL, or they give him another go to see how he goes. I thought, yeah, Common was probably better than him. So we'll keep an eye on Connor McKenna. But that was, yeah, I thought he was a lock. He's not a lock at all, but because if we know what he's capable of, he's done 80 at halfback in the past. We'll see how he goes. Now, Adelaide versus Fremantle. I think we have to start with Fremantle here and talk about Hayden Young. Hayden Young came out of my team very quickly. So this is the game that I watched 3/4 of. And then I switched to Port versus West Coast. Young was terrible. He had no interest getting the ball. When others took kick-ins, he didn't want the ball. He did take a kick-in himself, or two or whatever, but that's not enough. We want lots of kick-ins. I don't know. I thought he played deeper as well. Now, are you overreacting? Because you know that he's supposed to get more kick-ins. It was one practice game. He's had a great pre-season. I mean, maybe, but for me, I saw enough that I don't want to run that risk when I can run Dacos, who is begging for the ball non-stop, or I can just go up to Dawson, who looked great. So he's a cross for me. Yeah, I don't want none of that. So, yeah, next. Brayshaw was okay. I didn't notice him much. Fife played full forward. So he's a no for me. And then Big Shrek was actually very good and rucked most of the time, with Jackson sort of going all over the ground. For me, I'm still set on Wits for durability purposes, and I was very happy with Wits' performance. And I don't know if the split between Big Shrek, by Shrek I mean Sean Darcy and Jackson, I don't know what that split looks like week to week. So he is a no for me. But if you didn't know which ruck to go and you kind of wanted to pick Shrek, and yeah, this put you in the right direction, but still a no for me. And Adelaide. Okay, Riley O'Brien was smashed in the ruck, so he's no. He's always been like that, up and down. Dawson was very solid, mostly down back, bit of wing rotations. I think he did cop some sort of knock and he came off the field, I'm not sure. Laird was solid, I think he came off early, late in the third or something like that, or in the fourth. He looked very solid. But Sam Berry, oh my goodness, we are witnessing a breakout here. 470k. So in fantasy, he was already in my fantasy team, and I tweeted, basically put the captaincy on him in my screenshot. But yeah, he's a lock for fantasy for me. If you saw this game and you were considering Berry, you probably would have chucked him in for fantasy. But for Supercoach, he had a few turnovers, but he tackles so much. He's really good in the contest. He can spread from the contest really well. He has a bit of acceleration, which is good. And he was just hungry the whole time. And he spoke about Laird, like sort of mentoring him a bit, and saying like Laird, he's always switched on for the entire game. and Berry has tried to adopt that, and I think he has, because for the entire game, it was just so consistent. So if you're looking for a player in the 400s range, your guy is Sam Berry, possibly Errol Gordon as well, but Sam Berry, massive tick. But what can he do? I genuinely think he can do 105 from what I saw today. And that's not the worst for his price. So tick for Berry. I don't know if I can pick him or not. I'd have to pick between him. So I've got Tom Green and Nick Dacos. If for whatever reason I'm not happy with one of them, I can go to Sam Berry. But I think Dacos more likely to be a top-end defender, and Tom Green's more likely to be a top-end midfielder than Berry. So that's where we're at the moment. Any rookies? I don't recall. Rankin was very good. He's not a rookie. Port versus West Coast. Just quickly touch on these. So Rosie was very good. Butters I don't think played, and the rucks, they kind of played 3 rucks, and it's just a mess. I don't know what they're going to do, and I don't want anything to do with that. And then West Coast. Am I missing players for Port? I don't remember. West Coast. Elliot Yeo is a big fat lock. He looked like a top 6 defender the way he played. And, you know, I was like watching him and I was just thinking, like, please don't do an injury or anything, because he was going so hard. Like, he was sprinting, he was tackling, pressuring really hard, he was explosive. As I said in West Coast interviews, that he's got his power back, and it looks like it. He looks unbelievable. So even though the injury risk is there, given his history, I think you have to pick him just because of the upside is so good. And he looked so great. So big exclamation mark tick from Yo, looked unbelievable. Dom Sheed, role was good. He's missed a lot of footy, so I think you got to give him another game. I've watched so much football today that I'm falling asleep, but we'll finish this off. Dom Sheed, I was not encouraged with his performance. I don't know what to say. I think the game is sort of moving past players that aren't quick in the midfield. And he didn't look overly quick, and he's not really a big body either, so I don't really know where he stands, but the CBAs were so good, and yeah, the role was so good. So I am going to pass on Sheed, but I think it's because he's missed a lot of football, it's definitely worth giving him another game. So I think he's a watch, so yeah. I guess it's hard to say put across through him. I wouldn't do that, I guess. Even though, I don't know, did I even just say that? But regardless, give Sheed another game if you have him in your team. And rookies, Ginby didn't play. Chesser was good on the wing. Allen played very well, but got double teamed at times. And yeah, he's going to get a lot of attention. Elijah Hewitt came on late in the game and looked really, really good, really lively. But you know, when you get a rookie and you only have to play a quarter, it's how much do you take out of that? So that's everything. Sorry, I forgot to click these buttons here. But yeah, I wanted to get this out today, and I think yesterday the video finished uploading at like 2 AM and I uploaded it then. So hopefully this one can be up by, I dare say, 1 AM. We'll see. But I think the main takeouts here, Young is probably the biggest cross. Yo's probably the biggest lock. Dacos, I'm not sure. I think still a tick for him, and Titch is a hard avoid. And that's pretty much it, I think. They're the main ones. So, yeah. Also, I think Laird was very good. I've taken him out just to free up money, but if I can get Laird in, I will if I can find a way, but it's a little bit hard at the moment. I need to turn, I don't know, go Steele back up to Laird, but I think Steele was worth 600k. I think that's good gets. So that's all from me. Thank you for watching. I think the Dogs Intra Club is tomorrow, so I'll watch that and watch for Ed Richards kick-ins and CBAs of Jack McRae and yeah, all that stuff. Watch the Marcus Bontempelli show. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.